Spend enough time in online physics groups, and you'll see the same sequence play out in the comments. Someone mentions the Big Bang. A second person replies, "So the universe began." And a third person concludes, "Therefore, it was created from absolute nothing, which requires a creator." That chain of logic sounds smooth, but it swaps the idea of a first page for the idea that the book popped out of blankness. This logic stems from an artifact worldview. We have a habit of imagining the universe as a manufactured product, a physical object that was once non-existent, until someone or something finally switched it on. But the Big Bang model is more specific than that. It is a description of the early thermal history of our observable patch of space. It tracks how a hot, dense region cooled and expanded. It does not mandate a genesis of existence itself. This is a map of the cosmic microwave background, the oldest light we can see. This data, along with cosmic expansion and the abundance of light elements, points to an early phase where our region was incredibly hot and dense. It proves our neighborhood has a history, but it leaves the deeper metaphysical question of why there is anything at all entirely open. Think of cosmological history like reading a novel. The Big Bang is the earliest page we can read in our specific chapter. It is not necessarily the blank cover of the entire book. Our physical evidence, everything we've measured across billions of light years, only confirms a localized cooling phase in our causal patch. Because we have only found a boundary to our local chapter, we can't assume the entire book appeared from nothingness. Instead, we can start asking what the broader structure of the book looks like. To find that structure, we have to look at the word nothing. In physics, a vacuum is still a place. It is space-time structured by fields and physical laws. The theological concept of absolute nothing is much stronger. The total absence of any reality at all. No space, no time, no laws, and no possibilities. But absolute nothing is not a stable idea. The moment you try to state it, you rely on a background of logic and time to make the sentence meaningful. You end up smuggling in an accidental structure to describe a state that, by definition, has none. If absolute nothingness isn't a coherent alternative to reality, then existence is no longer a miraculous escape from an abyss. It is simply the baseline. This is a concept known as thin necessity, the realization that some form of reality must exist because the alternative is a logical dead end. If existence is the default, there is no gap between nothing and something that needs to be crossed. This removes the need for an external creator to pay the explanatory bill to bridge the gap from non-being to being. There are mathematical results that seem to suggest a hard start. The Borda-Guth-Vilenkim, or BGV theorem, shows that any universe that has been expanding on average cannot be extended infinitely into the past.
It is past incomplete, but past incomplete is a statement about a model, not necessarily a statement about the end of reality. It means a perpetually expanding phase cannot be the whole story on its own terms. Our current mathematical description has reached its limit. When physicists hit these boundaries, they don't see a literal edge where reality began. They see a breakdown point. A singularity is a sign that our classical understanding of gravity has failed, and that new, high-curvature quantum physics is required to describe what came before. These boundaries are not the birth of existence. They are transition points where we are currently missing the data to see the earlier phase. This allows a speculative framework called patchwise renewal. The overall cosmos persists eternally, but individual regions undergo extreme collapse and restart as new expanding phases. High-curvature environments, like the center of a black hole, could act as a transition point. Instead of ending in a singularity, the dynamics might continue through a high-curvature throat into a newly renewed expanding patch. This eternal architecture is a testable hypothesis. If our region emerged from a prior history, that history could leave non-random imprints in the cosmic microwave background or create a specific signature of gravitational waves for us to detect. By focusing on local renewal rather than absolute genesis, the origin of our universe becomes a problem for physics to solve, rather than a miracle we have to accept. If we step away from the artifact worldview, we see a different kind of reality, a continuous field in act. Existence is an ongoing activity governed by stable constraints, the laws of physics,
and records that allow later states to inherit information from earlier ones. This challenges the philosophical claim that even an eternal universe requires an outside source to donate its existence. In a process-first view, the lawful activity of the field is self-maintaining. It doesn't require an external hand to keep the lights on. Reality is an ongoing, structured activity. We can stop searching for a supernatural mechanism to switch it on and start focusing on the laws that sustain it. On this view, time is not a flowing river the universe floats inside. It is a bookkeeping ledger, a way of organizing the relationships and changes between different physical processes. If time relates processes, asking what happened before time began is a category error. It's like asking what lies north of the North Pole. The past is the fixed record of what has occurred. The future is the open face of what the laws of the universe permit. Existence is an endless chain of local beginnings and renewals. The cosmos does not need a creation from absolute nothingness to be awe-inspiring. We live inside an eternal, self-sustaining process, and our observable universe is just one beautifully unfolding chapter in a book that never had to be written.